So there are basically two ways of data. There are many ways of data collection. So can you write in the chat box, what are the different ways of data collection in qualitative research? Before we start, please type in the chat box. You have undergone through all those research, FGD, yes, IDI, observation. Anything else? Field notes, focus group, group interview, KII, ethnography. Ethnography is a type of qualitative research where we do the both observation, and if we are active, we may do the interview. Group documents, yes. Dr. Poonam is writing memos, yes. Dr. Emmanuel is also writing analytical memo. We will talk about that. And documents, some diaries, some documents already which the person or the situation has. So those documents also play an important role. And there are many other ways of data collection. Like these days, you will see that we do a data collection, data analysis of Twitter people who have responded on a particular topic. So all those Twitter chat, social media chat like Facebook, Twitter, and then again photographs. These are also a very important tool to do the this qualitative analysis. So those things are also important. Video, audio, obviously that video, audio is important because audio that you make a transcript, generally that is again one source, but those are also a data collection. So these days, a lot of marketing people, yes, documents, we do it by the photograph, we do it by the social media, we do it that although Twitter and this, we can do the, you can have this as a WhatsApp chat also. You can start with some topic and you can have the responses of people on WhatsApp. There are other, with this COVID pandemic, there are other methods also which are emerging, especially the social media. And the marketing people and the corporate sector, even if you see the political people, so all those political analysis, they also use these Twitter and Facebook responses of the people to understand. So, there are these days, political analyst also, it has become a profession. Many people, they are analyzing how the people will vote, what is the opinion of the masses or in which favor it will go. And they like analyze these social media's already data, which is there, the responses. So these are the various methods, but traditionally we will discuss, we are not going to tell you the how to analyze the social media, Twitter and all those things. We will go strictly with the two data collection method. That is the classically we do the in-depth interview, which is also known as the, that key informant interview. The difference between the key informant and the in-depth interview is like in key informant interview, you are taking the interview of a person of their administrative power, who are well versed into that particular field and who are at the level of decision maker. So they are the key informant interview, and the other the client, we take the in-depth interview. And again, the second one is the FGD. So we will restrict our session on these two methods only. We may have some future session on some.
Please repeat.
Repeat what?
Key informant interview and IDI.
Yes, so key informant interview, key informant, as the word suggests, they are the people who are the link between the masses and you. Like I said about the, if you are doing something on immunization, the key informant, you have to identify who are the people who are at the level of decision making or the service provider. So in that case, ASHA, ANM, or the medical officer in charge, the block program manager, they are the key informant because they are at the level of administration, they are at the level of power, they are at the level of service provider. And then in-depth interview you do with the client who are there at the level of end user or who are taking the service. So term is like if like in this case, if I'm answering by the level of my position. So like if you are inviting me as an additional professor of Department of Community and Family Medicine in some in-depth interview of maybe as a curriculum development committee, then I will act as a key informant. But if you are taking me as a woman, maybe as how I see the services which are offered to as a woman, or if you invite me as a pragya, where my position is not coming, I am as an individual. In that case, I will be acting like a in-depth interviewer. Is it clear to all of you? What is the difference between the key informant and the in-depth interview, KII? Or should I give you some more example? Who asked this question? Pragya? I forgot.
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Is it clear to you now? What is the
Yes,
difference?
ma'am.
Okay. So by the virtue of the administrative provider, if you take the interview of anyone, then they are the key informant. By virtue of their being, if you take the interview of those people, then. But generally, if the people who are at the level of administrative position, generally it's the key informant, that because they are called because of their experience, or because of their knowledge, or because of their vast, being in that particular field for so long. So that's why that is known as the key informant, because they are the people who will be giving key information regarding that particular program, or maybe curriculum, or any topic. Like if you are doing it on domestic violence, then who will be the key informant? If you are doing a domestic violence, some qualitative interview on maybe the intimate partner violence. Please type
Police
in the chat.
department. Police department.
Yes, police department.
Or
Advocate.
women's cell.
Yes.
When they reported the case.
Yes, NCW national, maybe some local state commission of women chairman, or some member of that chairman, or maybe you can take some female police, or the police department representative. You may have, like someone was saying, some social activist who is working in that area. Asha also, because many times Asha also being in that area can be a key informant, because she's close and maybe people, they approach her for anything. So it depends. You have to identify who will be your key informant, and that also you do it through snowball. Many times you meet one person and then you come to know that who all are the all people. Like there may be NGO who is working in that field and you are not aware of it. So many a time this snowball sampling is done to identify the key informant also, who are working in that particular area, or who can be a good who can give a good insight on your qualitative research topic. Is it clear? Okay, am I making sense to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now think about that you are driving the car on a highway to reach your holiday destination. So how will you plan, and what you will wish for during this journey? Yes? You can type in the chat box. What thing you would like not to have, and you would like to have? Your response is solicited, please, all of you. I will wish for good scenery, less traffic. Yes, less traffic, very important, and good scenery also. Chalo, yes, next. Emmanuel has written. Any other responses? Petrol stations on the way and food places. Good. Distance and duration to cover. I will prefer stressless journey. Songs to listen, to drive, good company, number of days and places to visit, motels on the way. Yes, make use of time properly and like to cover most of the places. Yes, go for hill station and enjoying the scene. Wish to have safe journey. Yes. What about the traffic? Yes, all of you have written indirectly about the traffic, like regarding the time, regarding the scenery, regarding the roads. So yes, so you are very right. So, just you think that taking the interview is like you are driving a car on your on a holiday and to reach your holiday destination. So we will see. So conducting an interview. So the first thing, like I said initially also, come out from the mindset of leaves available. Okay, Dr. Poonam is writing leaves available. Yes, that is also very important, that you have to make sure that number of days you are going, whether that much time is available for you or not. So the first thing is you have to come out of the mindset of a data collector. So I said you in the beginning only, don't behave or don't think that you are a doctor or you are a very much scholar person and you know everything. And you, because you now you have to understand it from the other person's angle. And that's what we talked about, the realities, that we go with this. When you are doing the qualitative research, you go with this paradigm that there are multiple realities, and you leave your reality and you try to understand the other person's reality. So if you remember this, then everything becomes very clear in your mind that how you should be conducting the in-depth interview. So you have to come out of the mindset of data collection and the typical interview guide which you use in the quantitative. Because what you do in the quantitative, you go with your tool and you start taking the response, and you know, it is very rather it is very structured mechanical way. But unlike this qualitative data collection, you have to come out of the mindset of that researcher. Maybe you have to behave like, at times you can behave like a lay person who doesn't know about the topic. In the sense, you have to behave, although in the mind you are knowing everything, but the questions, whatever you are asking, the person has said it is because of this meaning is there. So that was the first thing. Second thing is memorize your interview guide. That's why it is better to have a smaller interview guide. And the best way to memorize it is to conduct interview before going into the field with 3, 4, 5 people. So do a mock practice with someone. And once you do a mock practice, then again, after 5th or 6th, you will be, you know, remembering all those questions, and then you may actually do it in the field. So it is always recommended, please, before you start going to take the interview, do a mock practice, or you can more subjects, so that initial, because you will realize that few initial interviews you did not perform well. That I felt with myself, because when I started taking the interview, the in-depth interview, I was very, you know, all the questions which whatever I was asking, when I saw the transcript later, most of the time it was me who was talking and the person was talking very less. And you know, then I was left with nothing to code. So then I discarded initial 4 to 5 interviews, because you know, it was not yielding that much. So with repeated taking of the interview, then my transcripts were better at the end, because maybe I took maybe 100 interviews, then the last 50 or last 70 interviews were very good, but initial interviews were not so good. So you may have to plan your interview, how you are going to take it, and it's better if you do the mock practice before you actually go into the field to take the interview. Then third is that this is the same thing which I said, that you have to practice initial interview on your friends or your colleague. Then this I think we have discussed regarding the sharing of interview guide. And then regarding the interview location. So what is your opinion regarding the interview location? You can unmute yourself and answer. Where should be
the location should not inhibit the interviewee.
Like, can you give some example, Dr. Sukalyan?
Like if the interview is like this workplace stress, and
Okay.
I am interviewing some junior resident, and I am interviewing within the faculty room or within this department seminar room or like this, where faculty or other seniors are they access regularly. So in that place, probably he or she would not open up.
Yes, very rightly said. So you already know about that power dynamics should not play a role in this case, and the place also which you are suggesting, rightly said. Yes.
In
So
case of domestic violence also, we can't interview at the person's home or in place where they experienced. So probably we can get better inputs out of them if we choose a neutral place.
yes, very right. So you can call that person to your maybe clinic, or you can select any place which is not by, and that is very, you have to think. I mean, you cannot think in this sitting in this room. If you go to the field, you may think of any neutral place where you can call that person. Especially, you should take care of the religious sentiments also. Like if you are conducting an interview where you are calling everyone, maybe in some religious place, and there are people of various religions are residing there, then they also mean, especially in case of a focus group discussion, because we conducted FGD, several FGD. There was a study which we conducted post alcohol ban in Bihar, and there we conducted, I think, 54 FGD. So there we took care of these things, that wherever, because it is, calling them to a mandir or calling them to any religious place is easy, but you have to take care of those sentiments of the people who are there. So the place should be a neutral place. And all of you are right that Emmanuel is also writing that if you are doing something on contraception or some sensitive issue is there should be privacy. Madhav is writing that yes, responder should not be biased, where that place should be where the responders feel that he is free to answer, and it should be comfortable to the respondent. So yes, I think you people are right. So I need not to tell many things because you already know. So now what about this? So recording. So recording, you should, before you go for the interview, you should check beforehand regarding the battery of your recorder, the memory of your recorder, because many a times you've already recorded the interview, and while you started recording it, it will start showing you full. So you should always check your recorder, its memory, its charging status, battery, backup. And for backup, you can have your own mobile. So we usually always do the recording using the two devices. And because we always have our mobile with ourselves, so one recorder and one mobile. So in that case, if something happens to one, then the other is there as a backup. And all of you know that whenever you record your interview in mobile, it should be in what mode? What should be the mode of the mobile when you record your
Silent.
Silent. Silent is okay. Yes, Emmanuel.
Airplane mode.
Right. Yeah, it should be in flight mode.
Yeah, airplane mode.
Aeroplane mode, because otherwise, if there are calls coming in between, then it will be interrupted, that recording. So it will be in aeroplane mode, and you may inform to your near and dear ones that your mobile will be for 1 hour or 1.5 hours. It will be out of mode. If you're not if you're scared of putting it in the aeroplane mode, so there should be one backup always in the form of a mobile along with a recorder. So what is your opinion regarding this? When you should start recording? Just before taking consent for the interview or much before that? So much before that, after taking consent, much before that. Then they can delete it. Okay, much before that. So yes, you are right. We should start recording much before that. Why it is so? Anyone? Okay, you can unmute and you can talk. Please talk. Madhav, why do you think that it should be much before that?
For the introduction that you are giving and the purpose you will be explaining, so all that shall be recorded.
Okay. So yes, That is one way. Any other participant who would like to say something?
How I am approaching the interviewee, that might be also influencing him or her. So that can be recorded.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have observed a problem that whenever we record without their consent, they interrupt and say, "Why are you recording without my permission?" In field, actually in village level,
Okay.
sometimes they become angry.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I agree with you. Any other participants? Any experience which you would like to share regarding this record?
Madam, just I have a doubt.
Yes.
To go and just start the qualitative research, sorry, the method of qualitative study before taking the consent, or in between are we taking?
No, can you repeat your question once again?
Is it only after a group of people have come for the STD,
Okay.
and after giving an introduction about the subject, then only we take the consent from them, or prior hand we take the consent and then go for the
See,
can
okay. So I will answer each and every question one by one. Yes, anybody else would like to make a comment on his or her experience regarding this recording or regarding this interview? I would like to hear from all of you.
Ma'am, can I say something?
Yeah, please, Kirtana.
Ma'am, I think I have experienced that before the recording, we should ask whether they are consenting for the interview one time, and for recording also, we can record one more consent whether they are willing for the recording also. I think we can have two recordings, one for consent or one for the interview.
Okay.
I don't know whether it is possible in the
No, why not? See, that's what I said. In qualitative, everybody has their own way to doing thing. But one thing is sure that you have to take consent.
Yes,
That's the ethical this thing there, and you have to record it also. And these days, it's not only the verbal. You have to take the written consent also by taking their signature, giving a copy of that, because you make a participant information sheet also, where you inform them about and you keep your number, you give them your number also, contact number. So all these things are there in a participant information sheet. And so one copy of consent form you have to give them, the written copy, and one copy you keep it with yourself. That is regarding the written consent. So the moment you start recruiting or you have talked to them, you always take prior time. You take their time 1 day prior, isn't it? Especially, there are two kind of situation. You can take, if there is a KII, then you take prior appointment. Like if you are going to interview the block health manager, this SIO, medical officer in charge, or any person who is a KII, you take a prior appointment. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we take in case of a patient. So because there are two types of interview, there is KIA, and so patient generally, because we go and we identify them, or we take help of ASHA. How do you approach patients? Anyone like Anuja or Kirtana? Can you tell me your experience, your area experience? How do you recruit those clients?
Pardon, ma'am. One more time, let me have a clear. The question is not clear to me.
I asked question, how if you have to do a domestic violence, maybe not domestic violence will be a sensitive issue. Just you have to know the perception or of people, how you are going regarding a health facility, or in DOT center, you want to do some qualitative research on the defaulters. So how the people who are not coming to take the drug, what are the reasons for that? So how you will recruit or how you will approach the patient or the client?
First, I will contact ASHA of that village.
Okay.
And with her only, I will recruit some of the patients who are defaulters.
Okay.
And now they and contact for their interview, in-depth interviews.
Okay, so it is always in this case. So you always have someone from the health side, some person, maybe some social worker or some manager, block health manager. Here also, yes, community health worker. So you have someone who is a link between that person and you. So that should be there, because then there is or if you are going to do it in a village, definitely you take permission from Mukhya, and that Mukhya, he also or she also informs people that some conducted, we took consent from that village Mukhya also regarding that study. So that after that administrative approval, yes, so there should be some local mediator, you are right. So that in that case, beforehand also you have sensitized them, like something of this sort will take place and they are giving their consent for interview. So some sort of consent while talking to them, or while the Asha was talking to them, you have taken. Now you have, on the day of interview, I am talking on the day of interview. On the day of interview, and you also brief Asha regarding this, or whoever is the local mediator, that they should convey this, that the recording will be done. But again, when you go to take the interview, you also explain them. So before you start explaining them about the study, you explain them in the beginning that are they comfortable, whatever we are talking, can be recorded. So if they say yes, then only you start recording. We never switch on the recorder before their consent. We do it, that is implied. And after that, we again record that as a recording, like we say that should be as a proof. So we do the consent, we take the consent twice. We take the consent before we, like one of the Anuja, I think she said, or Kirthana, she said that ideally it should be taken twice before switching on the recorder. Also you ask, and after we switch on the recorder, again you record your voice that we are going to do this. Are you ready to participate in this? And then they say yes. So that's a form of formal recording of consent. But before that formal recording also, you take permission from them to record. And if they say no, then you cannot do that. That's the patient autonomy, which we talked in an ethics, that it's the patient decision or the client decision. If they don't want that particular conversation to get recorded, you cannot record it. You should not record it. So either you can do two things. Either you don't take that individual, or in that case, you have to write all those field notes. Or if that person is so important for you and he has consented for that study, then you may record the verbatim to the maximum. Obviously, it is not an easy task. Frankly speaking, I have never done it, that formal recording. I generally, because it's very difficult to record everything again, ask question, and record means, I mean, in the written form. A person like who knows shorthand and all, they can record it. But I have personally, I have never done taken an interview without this recording. So that can be done. And Kirtana is also writing that yes, video recorder. That's yes, video recorder. Video recorder, if they agree, that is very good. But in our setup, many of the people, they don't want the video recording because they think that their face will come or something will come. So audio is okay. Or Priyanka is writing that Asha, ANM, other health worker avoid or don't want their interview record. So for that, again, there is you can talk to the medical officer in charge, and if they are sure, then definitely they respond. You can go doing it without recording also, but that will be a little tedious for you. So in that case, you will have to write all the field notes, and then it will be a cumbersome task. So I try, approaching people who can convince them. So maybe I go and talk like view of Asha and ANM. So I talk to the block, there is a block community mobilizer who is in charge of this Asha. So you can talk to the people like ANM, the overall administrative in charge is the medical officer in charge, or MOIC. in Bihar, every state has its own terminology. So you can first talk to them and they can call the selected ANM or ASHA. And if they talk to them, then the ASHA ANM has no problem in responding and getting those things recorded. Are you getting? Is it clear to all of you? So try convincing the administrative head of the KII. If they are convinced and if the message goes from their side, it is easy. So yes, Poonam is right. I always try to convince them from all possible ways. And definitely you will have few of them who will agree. Because writing field notes, although the qualitative researcher, they say that, you can write field notes, but it's a purposive sampling. And I'll recruit only those people who will give me the consent of, audio recording at least. But again, the classically, if you say, and if you read the books and the researcher also, they say that you should go without, by taking field notes. Okay. So that's the case. So you should start a little before, obviously before taking consent, you should start much before that. Why? Because people become conscious once they know that their voice is being recorded. So after a few minutes, they will feel comfortable. And we have got not many problems in getting those recorded interview. Definitely, like all those things should be tried before you take field notes or before you decide that you will not audio record the interview. Okay, so you always ask follow-up questions in the form of probes, and then you consider yourself as an interviewer and what next question would you like to ask to respondent. So like first question interviewer is, how the patient dementia impacted the relationship dynamics in their family. So respondent is saying that my mom now requires 24-hour care. I'm often stressed about this and it's putting a lot of strain on my marriage. So now frame next question based on the above response. You can type the question. So how it is affecting your relationship with your spouse? Yes, it is again a probe. You are going in depth of that response regarding how it is putting strain on my marriage. Or our Ashwathi is writing what ways it does. How would you like to give the example? Just one more question. So this is again one question, that why do you prefer auto injector to intravenous injection? And the responder, he said that the auto injector is more convenient because I can administer it at home and it takes less time. So what will be the next probing? So Dr. Pranam is writing, have you considered for a full-time trained nurse for your mother?
Previously.
Yes, but again, have you considered? The answer will be yes or no. So it will be a close-ended question. So if you ask a close-ended question, you will get no response and you cannot code anything. Yes. So what problems you faced with? Yes, we need open-ended question where you get response. Just imagine what will you code. If you get the answer yes and no, then you have got nothing to code. And all those analysis depends on the coding itself. That's why you need to ask such questions where they should talk, where they should say. Okay, so what problems you faced with IV? Or yes, less time. You can ask them what do they understand by less time. So that can also be asked. Or some side effects. So I think I'm skipping this question because then otherwise we'll be late. So again, next question is, you may ask about same question in a different way to get the nearly complete answer. Yes, so this was the type of questions which we were discussing regarding the hypothetical situation, regarding the way of asking, regarding the changing words. So if you have to ask, if the person is not answering to the question which you have drafted, which you have thought of, you should ask that question in a different way to get the answer. And you have to remain polite by your gesture as well. Don't make your faces, don't be judgmental while you are taking the interview. At times, whatever mind, it comes on our face, and people are intelligent enough to guess that what is going in our mind. So that we have to be very cautious regarding our non-verbal language. So that's why. So yes, picture, yes, picture is depicting something else. I can, yes, you are very right. I think it's a wrongly placed, is giving. So just skip that. So now the next is, you have to ask some silly questions, because don't think nothing is silly. You know, whatever you are thinking, because you are a scholar, you have read so much. So you will think something as silly, but do ask silly questions, because like at that case, that HIV question, like I asked from that girl, she said that it spreads by touch. So if I ask from that girl what she understands by touch, it may look silly. It may look silly because someone might think why she's asking. Touch is so common. Everybody understands what is touch. But no, you should ask silly questions also, because you don't know what the person is perceiving or from which perspective he or she is saying. So you should ask some silly questions too, which are relevant to your research questions. Now read the reply of participants and frame a silly question to follow his or her reply. So participant said, the doctor came very late. And please write, what will you ask from that participant? One silly question. How long did you wait? Yes, because yes, this is the right approach, because very late, this very late may be different for all of you. So are you bored? Again, Shweta, if you ask this, are you bored? The answer will be yes or no. So again, close-ended. Are doctors always late? Again, close-ended question. Yes or no. So you should not be asking close-ended question. Why are you sitting in OPD since so many hours? Again, if you ask this question, it may feel a little, I mean, you know, in a negative frame, because he will think that, he's asking why. So why question should be asked with the little cautious this thing. So do you think he would stuck up with a boring patient outside? I think again answer will be yes, no. Yes, I did think, or I did not. Did you have breakfast? Silly question. It's a breakfast question, but again answer yes, no. So all these questions where the answer is yes, no, it's not a good question. So how do you spend time waiting for the doctors? Yes, it can be done. Then what you do while you're waiting for the doctor to come? Yes. Yes. Why do you think he's late? Ashwati is very right. Why do you think he's late? This can be one thing. Or then what you do while waiting to the doctor to come? This is also can be done. This is again open-ended question. And then you can ask like, doctor came very late, so very late. So what do you, can you, if I ask this, can you explain a little bit more? What do you understand by this very late? Right? Then he can answer. Like, what is his definition of very late? Okay. So these questions can be, again, if the doctor said that I usually remain engaged in the department meeting after lunch. So what next question you may ask? If the doctor is saying, so you may ask, like in this case, remain engaged. what departmental meaning, what type of departmental? Yeah, usually. Yes, very right. Usually, that's right. Or you can ask like what type of departmental meeting, or how about your sleep after meals? Yes. What was your lunch? Yes. So all yes. When will you be free usually? So yeah, these questions are all open-ended question. So first, try making open-ended question. Yes, what do you mean by departmental meaning? So yes, in that case, you may ask, like you cannot ask like, what do you mean? So you may ask like, can you elaborate further on departmental meeting? What type and something? And that's how you can probe further. So these were all example of probes when you ask in depth. So our idea behind asking such silly questions is that you are not going to assume participants' key terminology as per your understanding, because you have your understanding and the participants has their understanding. So you questions because you do not assume that your terminology and their terminology is same. So it is always good to ask silly questions while you take the interview. Note taking, yes, there should be some note taking, and that's why we say that there should be two people who should be taking the interview. One should be the note taker and the other should be the interviewer. So you can coordinate, two of you can go, and then one of you can take the interview and the other can take the notes, because it is not it is really difficult for the same person to talk and to take the notes and to ask the leading the questions also, reframe the questions also then and there. So after the interview, you have to say thanks to them, and then you give them the updates also. So once you make the transcript, we don't follow this in India, because even if you send them your transcript, I don't know how the participant will react and how to give them, because many of them don't have their email ID, but at least you can share your transcript with the KII. So that can be done, so that validating that data. If they validate and say okay to that transcript, then definitely it's the validation, because that transcript is the data for you. So it can be given. It should be given rather. And in the West, they do it regularly. They call the participants, they give the transcript to them to read, and then they validate it. So being a good interviewer means that you must have good knowledge about the topic of interest. You are knowledgeable, that you do it by the previous literature search. You must have a semi-structured interview guide. So you are structured, and that we have seen how to develop an interview guide. You must ask simple, easy, and short questions that should be open-ended so that you are clear. You must give time to think, time to finish, and you should not interrupt in between. You should wait for the pause. So you are gentle. You must listen attentively and empathize. You are sensitive. You are open, because you respond to the issues which are raised by the participant, and you are very flexible in asking questions. And then you are steering. So steering is basically you are the driver. The steering is in your hand. So wherever the participants deviate, you bring them back to the main road. So many a times it will happen while you are taking the interview that the participants, they deviate. So you don't wait and then bring them back to the main research question. So that's the point which I want to convey by this steering. Or do not agree or disagree. Ask if any ambiguity is observed in the statement. You are very critical, and then you remember that you have to interpret in between. So you just paraphrase whatever they are saying. So that way they understand that you are with them. So you cannot summarize. You may summarize it at the last, but if the talk goes for long, like maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes, then you may summarize in between also. So by summarizing, you are achieving two tasks. First, you are validating if they are saying yes, or if they are convinced with your interpretation, it is a kind of validation. And second thing, it helps in making rapport. That person now believes that you are interested in his talk. You want to listen to him. So he will respond more. So it helps in rapport building also. So you can choose to respond in between. You can have at two places, you can interpret what the person is saying. So that should be there. And allow for a natural flow while you interview to cover all the relevant topics that we have discussed, that we should not interrupt them. And then we have started with the driving on the highway. So this driving analogy, we can see that if there is low fuel, we may have problem. That is synonym with the low battery of the recorder. So if there is a clear road, so interview is very smooth for us. So that's why if the road is clear means if you select a place where there is a less of disturbance, nobody's coming in between, and especially in the field, you have to, otherwise, whatever you will record, it will be of a very poor quality because there will be a lot of noises that will keep on coming. And these days there are a lot of gadgets which help them to have two mics, like one the participant and another is the researcher. So you can have a clear recording of the participant voice also. So obviously if you are in a high speed, then it will have some jerk. So that's how, if you are asking going in a very fast speed, you will have poor narrative. The participant will also be in haste. Or if you are very slow, the participant will lose interest. So the quality of will be compromised. So it should have a medium good speed to have a good narrative. And there should be a frequent tea breaks in between. Like people said that they should have some good place to eat and something like that. So if the participant is telling anything in between, which is not related to research, you can listen for him for a few seconds. That's like a tea break for you and for him also. And then again, you will bring him back to your main research question. And then some natural calls will be there, like narrators, which are not related to research. And then participant may pick some important mobile call, which is like a jam in between. So you have to wait, just do your recording, hold your recording. There is an option in the recorder where you can hold that recording, press that button, wait that participant to end that call, and then again you may start. And that happens with especially KII. Like we were taking interview of a district immunization officer during the COVID time, and we had to interrupt the recording, I guess maybe 7-8 times, because a lot of calls were coming in between. And since he is at a position where he had to respond, so you have to bear with all this, and just you have to be very patient while taking the interview. So just press that hold again, press it once the interview starts again. So this is the way you should start, and you should complete your interview journey. So this is the checklist for the process and quality improvement for the interview. Okay, so I'll open this. So can you see the screen?
Yes,
If the screen is visible, so this is the checklist for the process and quality monitoring. You will have all these material with you. So you can just check your process also, or with this checklist, it will help you to improve your interviews also. So first is to decide and fix mutually agreed date, venue, and time for interview after administrative approvals. So this is the first and most important step. You have to get approval before you start any qualitative interview, and that you have to decide depending on your stakeholders or the participants. who are their administrative head. So that should be the first step. The second is check the recorder battery status and memory. Then keep a notebook and pen for note taking if face-to-face interview. Fourth is keep a hard copy of interview guide. Although you should memorize it, but simultaneously you have to keep a hard copy of interview guide. Then you have to introduce yourself and state the purpose of the study. Then you have to verify the concern to the participant and ask if the respondent has any questions to ask. You have to inform when you are starting recording. You have to provide adequate time to respond. You have to show interest and curiosity. Obviously, these things will be a non-verbal. All those things we call it as an open posture, like square posture, and little bit leaning forward, listening attentively. You yourself not picking mobile or seeing mobile in between. These things shows interest and curiosity in the researcher. Then in the end, you have to ask exit question. Yes, this point is very important. Debrief and summarize the main points. So I told you to interpret in between. So at the last also, if you have not done it in between, debrief and summarize main points. And before you ask them to leave, you check that the audio recording, you check it once that whether it has recorded the interview or not. And then you store the consent form, audio recorded transcript in a separate folder in a password protected computer system. And then I think that's it. So these are the 13 checklists of a process and quality monitoring of the interview. So I think we can take a break now. So how much break should we give? 1 hour?
1 hour.
What is the group opinion? You can unmute and answer 1 hour. SSV is writing. Okay, actually they have to go to the hostel, eat and come back. Okay, so we'll break for 1 hour and we will meet again at 2:15. And in there we will have this interview guide where you will have to conduct this one-to-one interview. Okay. Is it everybody is agreeable to this?
That has been shared.
So interview guide, it has been shared to you. WhatsApp, it's there on the WhatsApp also. And it's there in the chat box also. You can go through it. And I think we made the pairs. Okay, so we'll make a pair. 2 of you who has to take. So one will be the interviewee and the other will be the interviewer. So you have to take and then the role will reverse. So everybody will have their transcript. So today you have to make today the end of the day assignment is to make your own transcript out of the 5 minutes interview which you have done. Okay, so we break for lunch and then we'll again meet at 2:15.